Okay, into the deck tech. So what we'll do is we'll go through this list top to bottom, and you can explain um, like each card essentially. But I'm gonna ask dumb questions about
That's fine.
like their inclusion and
Absolutely.
stuff,
I
and
understand.
it'll be interesting to hear your justification for a bunch of this stuff. So, starting at the top, the any legend, obviously that's
Mhm.
that's who we're playing. There's nothing really to talk about there. We've already talked about the power of it and how it
Ready two runes.
ready to runes. The 7-5 splits on runes. Um,
Hmm.
it seems like the only uh, chaos card, is it? Is it Ride the Wind is the only one? Oh no, and any legend, any
Yeah.
champion.
You could probably play less. The reason I'm on five is because we have both Rebuke and Fading Memories in the sideboard, which you need the five Chaos in order to play those when you side them in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
until they let you change rune configs on sideboards,
right.
yeah, you're kind of stuck with
No,
that.
so the 5/7, I was playing 8/4 at one point, but then when I cited in the rebukes, I didn't have the purples, so let me redo that. But then when I cited in the rebukes, I didn't have the purple runes that I needed. I found that 99% of the time, you always had red when you needed it. Um, I don't think once in the tournament, maybe once in the tournament, I was like, I wish I had one more red. That happens so infrequently. As long as you're not willfully wasting your red power, as long as you're making correct use of it, I think 7/5 is correct.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's not that much that can choke you out except for falling star, right? The if you get like multiple falling stars, you might run into a
Yeah, but you
problem.
don't want to be spending like a ton of power early game anyway. I think that's almost always incorrect. So the split kind of comes up less and less the more that you're reserving your power. As long as you have one red when you hit five runes, you're fine because you need that one red on five runes to accelerate your Kaisa.
Gotcha. Okay, battlefields. These three here. Let's start with which one is your game one battlefield?
So game one, we're almost always playing out the Zon Warrens.
Zorn Warrants. And what's the thinking behind Zorn Warrants over something like Candlelit or any of the other kind of more generic battlefields?
So that's the thing about Zon is it gets cards in your trash for Vi. This matters a lot against like game one Aurora or any like ramp go big deck. You need a lot more cards in your trash to get over those boards, and Zon really helps with that. But it's also better into Kaisa than Candlelit because Kaisa can get just as much or more value out of Candlelit than you can. Zon allows you to fill your trash, buff up your Vi, so Vi can walk into a Hex Tech or a Void Seeker or a Smoke without actually risk dying because you have all those cards to recycle.
So to summarize what you just said and make sure I understand this correctly, it's the card filtering potential, but also the synergy with Vi,
Absolutely, yeah.
Vi trash. Okay. And then number two battlefield. Sorry, let's say go
So
first. Go first if you
going
first.
first, you are usually going to play arenas. There
Yep.
are some matchups where you actually play Dreaming Tree going first. Something like um, Volibear or any Aurora deck, you usually play Dreaming Tree going first because going first gives you a huge tempo advantage already that you don't actually need to play the arena's greatest. You prefer to play the Dreaming Tree so you keep the going first tempo advantage, and then when you go second, if you go second, that is, you have the arenas, which also gives you a tempo boost. Instead of boosting your going first win rate, which is already like 100%, you kind of boost your going second win rate, which is a game that you could theoretically lose. So the only time that you would play Dreaming Tree going first is when you're playing into like a big ramp deck like Aurora or like Ramp Yi. Most of the time, going first, you're going to play Arena's Greatest.
Okay, so let me try and unpack what you've just laid out there. So
Hmm.
arena is you're going first battlefield most of the time.
most of the
Um,
time.
and the advantage of that is that it's an extra point. It gets you to winning faster, and it fits in with your aggro kind of game plan. Um, Dreaming Tree, you would consider playing that first against the ramp decks, but like
Hmm.
why? But what's the explain the rationale why this is good going first against like an Aurora, let's say.
Okay. So nothing about Dreaming Tree makes it good into Aurora or ramp decks. The reason you play it going first is because going first has an inherent tempo advantage. You're always at an advantage when you go first. Arena's greatest only exacerbates that advantage. Into Aurora, you're trying to equalize your advantage from going first to going second to kind of boost your going second win rate. Because going first, you're already at such an advantage, you don't need to boost that advantage with arenas. You would rather boost your win rate when you go second to make that game even easier.
So if I understand this correctly, you're saying that when the ramp decks go first, they have
Hmm.
such a kind of uh, let's say advantage gap that you want to use arenas to close that as much as you can.
Exactly.
So it's got more
Every deck.
utility in giving you a fighting chance in that matchup.
The thing about Aurora is that you pretty much always beat Aurora under every circumstance. So this is kind of like like the margins on go like which battlefield you pick are really slim. Um, the reason it's optimal to play arenas going second is because Aurora can't make use of arena's greatest. Turn one, you play a sneaky, you pass. They play like a catalyst. Turn two, you accelerate your Kaisa to the other battlefield, the one that they played. You're on 4 points now because not only did you conquer with sneaky, you held with sneaky, so you're on 4 points. You pass back to them. They don't do anything because they're playing Aurora. You hold with both of your guys. You go to six. You back both. They play out their Aurora, play a guy to base. Then you swing with both and you win. Like it is such an insane tempo that they just cannot deal with. It is almost 100% win rate, I would say.
On arenas against ramp.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Alrighty, let's get to the deck list. We'll come back to the battlefields in some of the sideboard sections because
Yeah.
it's important to bounce around ideas for those.
Hmm.
For the main deck, it looks pretty tight. Everything is a three of except for Vayne, Fight or Flight, Poro, and that's it. So
Yep.
let's go through top to bottom. Champ Zone, obviously Purple Annie, Super.
Is
Yep, you go.
So Purple Annie is one of the cards that when I first saw it revealed, I thought this card was so bad. I thought 4 energy and a power for a 3 might unit, and all it does is add a spell back. This card is terrible. This is actually one of the best chosen champions in the game. And it's not even like she is so broken, it's crazy. It lets you kind of use your ride the wind. It lets you use even your cleave, your flash, your foff. Foff is fight or flight. It lets you use these cards kind of willy nilly, just like toss them on the board because you can just get it back with Annie. Like it doesn't matter, you know? So many times I'll use my ride the wind, score 2 points, add it back, score another 2 points to win the game. It's so, so incredibly strong. I wouldn't. I am so happy that this is our chosen champion. This card is so good.
So she's the Swiss Army knife. She's the utility kind of,
She literally does everything.
yeah,
Absolutely.
gets back exactly what you need for the situation.
Annie is so good. I'm so glad that our chosen champion does what she does.
All right, three stack decks. Uh,
So
yep. What's your thoughts on stack deck?
stack deck. is maybe the best purple card. This card does not get enough. People do not talk about Stack Deck enough. Stack Deck in Annie is incredibly powerful. Not only is it the best consistency tool in the game, letting you look at the top three cards and then add one to your hand and then get rid of the other two is amazing. Because not only are you able to perfectly craft your hand for any situation, you can play it on your opponent's turn using the energy you got from your legend ability. Meaning, effectively, you have the best consistency tool in the game that costs zero energy. I cannot understate the power of Stack Deck.
So it plays into the crafting your hand, um, adding one to the trash for Vi,
Mhm.
uh, and basically smoothing out exactly what you need for the situation.
People always ask me, they say, Sold, how do you always have Vi Ride the Wind in hand? How do you have it every single time you need it? It's just that's just how consistent Annie is. Annie is the most consistent deck in the game. You will always have everything you need if you play Annie correctly. If you can evaluate situations and correctly determine the tool that you need in that situation, you can get to it because that's just how consistent Annie is. And Stack Deck enabling you to do that, I cannot understate the power of that card.
So in terms of crafting your hand, it seems like there's like not much draw outside of Void Seeker Kaiser. So Void Seeker and Kaiser look like your
Hmm.
drawing sort of engines. And then the crafting side, we're talking about stacked deck and traveling merchant.
Yes,
Uh,
Stack Deck and Merchant technically do not increase your card advantage, but that's fine. Like,
Except
you
for the
don't
those little
necessarily
tricks
need
with
them to.
merchant, right? Like the little move when you've got no cards kind of thing.
That never
And
happens.
Zorn.
I'm gonna be quite frank with you. You never have no cards in hand with this deck. If you have no cards in hand with Annie, you've done something terribly wrong.
I,
Um,
Yeah, okay. I found that when I've played it a couple times because I played a few times before this, I have gone down to
mhm.
zero, but I'm like a Jinx player. I kind of just
Oh, for
dump
sure.
everything out, right, and try and get value off the merchant and Zorn. But yeah, I'm definitely not playing it
Yes.
correctly. But
Stack and Merchant allow you to get rid of the cards that you don't need in that matchup or get rid of the cards that aren't good at the moment and then draw you into the cards that you do need. And then we can talk about Kaisa a bit later.
cool. So we've touched on merchant. Three of pretty solid two drop. It's out of the two drops of merchant and Poro. Which one do you want to see the most?
Oh, it depends. 90% of the time, Merchant. Just, I cannot understate the power of Merchant. Like, crafting your hand, it's an insane consistency tool. It boosts the power of your Vi. Merchant is definitely the best two drop in the game 90% of the time. The other 10% of the time is when you play into Kaisa. Pouty Poro is insane value into Kaisa. It doesn't seem like much. The way you beat Kaisa is by forcing them to recycle. Every single Kaisa deck is built on this principle that I don't have to recycle, and so I can play these like super greedy, expensive cards. And when you force Kaisa into a position where they have to recycle, then you kind of destroy their game plan. And so simply by them not being able to target this guy, you completely kind of shift tempo in your favor. So in any game where you're playing against Kaisa, you want to see Pouty. Every other matchup, you want to see Merchant.
Awesome. Cleave, pretty self-explanatory. Just running over battlefields, right? Filling your grave for Vi.
Yes. Cleave is one of those cards that does not explain itself by reading it. You read it and it says, give a unit Assault 3 this turn. That's not actually what the card does. The card says, give a unit 3 might, draw a card when you cast it on Kaisa. If you cast it on Darius, it says, give a unit plus 5 might and ready it. Like, Cleave is so crazy powerful that I could never even consider playing less than 3 copies. This card is good in almost any situation. You always want to have Cleave in hand. This card is insanely powerful.
So dreaming tree synergies too, right?
If you walk into Dreaming Tree with Kaisa and you cast Cleave, you just swung with a 7 might and drew 2 cards. Like, no other deck in the game can do that.
So cleave 3 off, definitely a must-have. Uh,
Absolutely.
Vi Vi one is your finisher, even though she's a two energy.
Yes, Vi is super versatile.
How often are you playing her out early?
So this gets a little complicated. Because of how the 2-drop math kind of works, you have to include Vi as a 2-drop. You'll notice besides Vi, we're only playing 5. You have to include Vi in how many 2-drops you're playing, or you draw too many of them. So you do end up playing her on turn one sometimes. Not every game, but there are situations where you do have to play her turn one. And a lot of people say like, "Oh, that's so bad," whatever. And yes, is it suboptimal for sure? But like Vi is still really good. Like she's 3 might. She contests every 2-drop in the game. Like you pair Vi with like a stack deck, and now you're swinging for 4. Like, there's a lot of situations where playing Vi turn one is really, really good for you, actually.
So don't be
So
shy on playing a turn one if you
absolutely,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So Flash, your the bread and butter that you were talking about
Flash,
before.
oh, my beloved.
What?
Um, Flash is maybe the best card in the deck.
Hang on.
Like,
You've said that Stack Deck was the best purple card, but
ugh. Okay, well, they're all good.
they're
All
all
the
good.
cards. Okay, I'm sorry. All the cards in the deck are good. Flash is the best protection tool. It is better when you're using it to save higher cost units, obviously. But it also combos really, really well with a lot of the units in your deck. Being able to protect your Vi, super, super important. Being able to protect your merchant is quite good, especially because it triggers your merchant, right? Being able to protect your Poro is really cool. If Kaisa goes Hextech Beam on your Poro, not only are they paying deflect, you pay flash, move it back. Now your Poro is still alive, and the Kaisa player has to recycle another rune when they go to out it again. Not only that, if you scroll down, you'll see Red Kaisa, right? She says, "When I conquer, draw one." The problem with Red Kaisa is that you can only conquer every other turn because you have to back her to base. If you conquer with Kaisa, your opponent goes to out her and you flash. Now you get to conquer again on your next turn and draw another card, right? You pair it with Vayne, you play Vayne, she readies because your opponent has a battlefield, you swing over something, and now you can just flash it back to base and swing for 5 again next turn. Like, you get so much value out of Flash. Like, I cannot understate how powerful this card is. It really just does everything for you.
So it's your protection spell, but you want to use it to try and squeeze value out of, their
Out
removal.
of your units.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to just use it like you really want to use it to dodge removal. It's fine to use it to dodge combat so your units don't get walked over. But like you will win infinite more games if you're using it to like dodge Void Seeker or like dodge Hex Tech, right, or something. Like that's when Flash becomes like absurdly broken.
And Ride the Wind. Ride the Wind's
I
the
mean, Ride the Wind is Ride the Wind. I mean, it moves the unit and it readies it. I mean,
so this is the Ride the Wind Vi combo that closes out games.
yes,
Um,
that is the infamous combo everyone talks about, but is actually not even the most important part of this card. So for those unfamiliar, if you're on 6 points for 4 mana, two for Vi, two for Ride the Wind, you can play the Vita base, recycle your entire trash, which is usually going to be 10 plus cards, make your Vi like a 13 to 20 might. I think the largest I've ever had is like 30 might. Um, you're going to play the Ride the Wind, move Vi to a battlefield, conquer that battlefield, killing any units that were there, and then, because the Vi is readied from the Ride the Wind, you can use her ganking to move to the other battlefield, conquering that as well, winning you the game. That is the Vi Ride the Wind combo. What is really, really important about Ride the Wind is that it is an action that costs 2 energy, which means anytime you end your turn with a unit on a battlefield, your opponent has to play around the fact that you can cast Ride the Wind to move that unit to the other battlefield. And that is important because it allows you to conquer on your opponent's turn, scoring your point. And a lot of times that gives you an insane amount of tempo. Being able to break point parity, being able to outscore your opponent, it is really, really difficult to play around Ride the Wind on your opponent's turn. It puts them in a position where they have to take suboptimal lines and make suboptimal plays to play around this card. And so a lot of times you're not even going to play Ride the Wind on your opponent's turn simply because you get more value out of forcing them to play around it than if you had just played it. It is really, really strong against both experienced players and unexperienced players because unexperienced players aren't going to play around it. So you're just going to ride the wind and you're going to win the game. And experienced players are going to play around it, but they're forced to take those suboptimal lines to do so, and then you're just not even forced to play it. Then you can just hold it and win the game anyway because they took those suboptimal lines. It is truly a card that is impossible to beat. Um, and I was joking, like I joke about every card being the best card in the deck. This card really is the best purple card. This card really is the best card in the deck.
Okay, so Ride the Wind 1, Flash 2, Stack Deck 3.
Really, they do different things.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I'm
it's
just
hard to compare them, but they individually they are all extremely powerful for the thing that they accomplish.
so this
But if I had to pick a single most powerful card, it would be Ride the Wind.
that's a point that we missed earlier. Which is
Hmm.
any legend reading 2 runes
Hmm.
always always puts some sort of pressure on your opponent to decide,
Absolutely,
like to make them play around something. Like you've always
absolutely.
got some, unless you've got 0 cards in your hand, they always have to ask themselves the question. And there's not any other deck that does that, right? Like you play out your
Nope.
cards and you're tapped out. It can simplify the game a lot for your opponent. When playing against
Absolutely,
this,
yeah.
they've always got to take into account.
They always have to play around stuff.
Y-
Absolutely.
yeah,
Even if you have nothing, like, because a lot of decks, you will, like, if you play any green deck or you play Kaisa, sometimes they will purposefully leave mana open to be able to cast the cards in their hand on their opponent's turn. With Annie, you don't have to leave any mana open because you always have mana open. So there's nothing about your play patterns that indicate you have something, right? You're just gonna have that mana open because you have that mana open because that's what your legend does. And it puts your opponent in a really tough position where they have to make an impossible read on if you have something or not.
yeah.
Um,
So I have a question on Ride the Wind.
mhm.
So, um,
Yes.
there's gameplay patterns where you um, usually the first turn, if you play a
Hmm.
2 drop, let's say Poro or Merchant, then you go in and you
Yes.
score 1.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can turn that into a 2 point turn with Sneaky Deckhand or Kaiser, like to
Yes.
go straight to 2 and then go 2, 4, 6, 8. But
Hmm.
there'll be games where you're on the odd points like run. So you'll be going like 1, 3, 5, 7,
Absolutely.
9, right? How often do you use Ride the Wind to try and turn that back to an even number on your opponent's turn versus
All the
saving it
time.
for like a closeout?
That is the beauty of Annie. That I oh my gosh, that is what is so amazing about Annie is you don't have to save Ride the Wind. If you're on that odd point number like you just said, like you can easily just use Ride the Wind, go from 5 to 6, and then add it back on your next
Ah,
turn with your Annie chosen champion and just do like if you're going to 8 mana on your next turn, you can Annie, get back ride, play Vi, do the ride to win all in the same turn. So I would say yeah, I do that play. Like if I'm on 5 points, I will just do the ride to win, go to 6, even if the unit that I did the ride to win on dies, that's fine because the game is over. Like there's nothing they can do about it.
so yeah, I guess that's where I was asking, and it didn't really click. It's like you're not saving Ride the Wind for Vi Ride the Wind. You're in that situation because you can always get it back at any time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's yeah. So you are finding yourself doing that Ride the Wind on the opponent's turn if it's available and it changes you to an even point parity.
If you're going from like 4 to 5, there's not as much of an incentive to play the Ride the Wind on your opponent's turn. But if you're going from like 5 to 6, then you do it like almost 100 times out of 100. Um, it's such an insanely strong play.
Awesome. So the next ones are Falling Star or yeah,
Ban Falling Star.
ban it. Yep.
Um,
We all know this
so
is like
this,
a way overpowered card for the
yeah.
price.
Falling Star, it's not as good in Annie as it is in Kaisa because you actually have to pay for it. But even when you're paying for it, like sometimes you will play this on like turn 3 and just win the game on the spot. On turn 2, turn 3, Falling Star is just a board wipe. Like it, if you just kill their 2 drop in base, like they're behind an entire turn cycle, you can just score like 4 points for free, and then there's like no universe where they could possibly catch up to you. Um, like Falling Star is so unfair. I mean, you have to play it. Like it is the best red card in the game. It's so broken. Like this card legitimately needs to be banned. And I would like even though I'm playing 3 copies of it, I would celebrate. I would be so happy if I no longer had to play or play against Falling Star. This card is so unfun.
So the Falling Star is your only backline reach, am I right? It's your only card that
That is
can
correct.
interact with the backline, and it hits like some important kind of backline targets like in Yi and so on
Hmm.
um with the Poros and the what's it, is it Sunlit Champion and all that kind of stuff.
Sunlit Guardian, but
Sunlit
yeah,
Guardian. Yep.
it's good against every single deck in the game except for like Volibear. It's not very good against like Aurora decks.
Yeah, and
Normally,
Dead Wounds, right?
if I'm yeah, I'm normally if I'm playing against a deck that's on those big units, I'm usually siding out the Falling Star for the rebukes. But against everything else, like Annie already has a naturally good matchup into all of those big unit decks because they're so much slower. Um, so it's really easy to main Falling Star and then just side it out for the rebukes. And then, you're turning a already good matchup into like a matchup that's impossible to lose.
All right. So well, I think everyone agrees this is just a
Yeah.
bonkers card.
It's the bonkers, yeah.
We don't need to
Most
go.
broken card in the game.
Yeah, and because of that, we're definitely abusing it. And three of the sneaky is a
Sneaky
very
deckhand.
yeah. It's underplayed a lot, I think. It, this is one of the only lists that runs three of, but it's like super important. Tell us why.
Oh, sneaky deckhand, my beloved. This card is insanely broken. Going second, it's extremely strong to just slammer on a battlefield. It almost always gets you like 2 points instantly, one for conquer and then one for holding. And going first, if you go like 2 drop turn 1 and then like turn 2, you like move your 2 drop up and then like play a sneaky, like it is extremely difficult for your opponent to do anything in that situation because now they have to spend at least 1 card to out one of your 2 guys, right? And then they have to spend the energy. And on turn 2, it is really, or turn 3, turn 2, turn 3, it is really hard to allocate energy to remove a unit, especially one as like low investment as Sneaky Deckhand. And then on top of that, if you're playing Sneaky Deckhand, like turn 2, going first, you still have 3 mana up, like from your legend ability. You play Sneaky, you have 3 up. Now they have to play around Fight or Flight, they have to play around Void Seeker, they have to play around Flash. Like, Sneaky Deckhand is uniquely powerful in Annie because of the just insane tempo swing. It scores you so many free points. Then putting them in a position where they have to spend cards and energy to out it, I just cannot understate how powerful that is.
So one thing that I notice is this this is probably the most synergistic unit with your battlefields. is my take on it because
Yes, yes.
like yes, it's a two might unit you just slam onto a battlefield. But let's say you're going
Hmm.
second and your
Hmm.
first play is sneaky. It's not just a point, it's a point and a filter with Zorn.
Yep,
It's a
absolutely.
point and a potential extra draw when you pass an untapped two off Dreaming Tree.
Yep, exactly.
And when you're on when you're on one from arenas, it instantly puts you onto the two.
Yeah, it's 2 points basically. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's super broken. It's super broken.
yeah. So I think people are kind of sleeping on this card a little bit,
And
but
one more thing I want to stress about sneaky is that 90% of the time when you play sneaky, it's not just 1 point. You also get the point from holding with it. So most of the time when you play sneaky, you actually get 2 points, which is super important to mention.
awesome. Anything else on Sneaky?
No, I think that's it. She's just good. Just play her. She's good.
Good, good common quick points aggro synergies card. Um, let's go to FOF, fight or flight. Two of inclusion. It's not a three of. Um, my thinking is you probably not playing it hidden very often. Is that correct, or are you playing it hidden lots?
Um, Fight or flight, I do not hide it very often. You can hide it if like you don't have access to flash, because hiding makes it a reaction, so you can use it to dodge removal. Um, but most of the time, you're just playing it from hand with the mana you get from Annie. It's not a three of because fight or flight is only situationally good. You don't really want to see like multiple copies of it. Um,
And it shines against the big units too, right?
It's really good against like larger units. A lot of times, if your opponent goes all in on like a Tasty Fae Folk or all in on a Darius Cleave play, or like goes in on like Thousand Tailed Watcher, being able to fight or flight that unit is insanely powerful. There's a lot of situations where it doesn't do that, or like it doesn't do exactly what you need it to. Um, Still, an extremely worthwhile inclusion. Um, there are a lot of situations where it just wins you the game on the spot. But I wouldn't probably play three of it. I think two is the correct amount of this card.
Are you using it like early game to try and hold a battlefield? Um,
Um, Usually no. The reason why is because a lot of what you do with Annie, you want to be walking over your opponent's stuff. Like other decks do not have the same ability to protect their units from combat that Annie does. And so a lot of times you want to be killing, like you want them to conquer so that way you can kill their unit. Um, and like keep them on a low unit count. So no, I would say that typically, like if they threaten me in combat, especially in the early game, I'm going to FOF my own unit and then walk over theirs on the next turn.
so
Generally
you're
speaking.
letting them have the point in a lot of cases
Yeah, yeah. Like
just to kind of maintain the initiative.
how many points your opponent has rarely matters. Especially in the early game. Like if you give them a point and you get you a point, if you give them a point for your own point, Annie is always winning that because Annie ends the game on 6. Every other deck ends the game on 8. That's just the truth of the matter.
So Void Seeker, the next one. This
Mm.
this one jumped out to me when I first looked at this list as an interesting inclusion, and now like after playing a couple games, I kind of see why. Um, like I guess the thing that people would ask is like why Void Seeker, and because you also notice there's like no Hextech Ray in the list, right? Um, why Void Seeker? Is it
I will
pure?
tell you
Yeah, go.
why we are playing Void Seeker. The reason we are playing Void Seeker is because it kills 4 might units. And that may not seem like a very impressive feat, but if you look at our units, you'll notice we do not have very clean ways to out 4 might units. Vayne outs 4 might units, Darius outs 4 might units, but those are kind of
And
high
cleave.
investment
And
cards.
cleave's the only other one, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can cleave over them. Um, but if you'll notice, the best unit in our deck, Kaisa Survivor, has exactly 4 might. So she does not natively beat 4 might units. So being able to Void Seeker, kill their 4 might unit, and then anything that has less than 4 might, you can walk over with the red Kaisa. That's kind of like your that's kind of like the main threshold that this deck struggles with is 4 might units. Because anything that's more than 4 might, your opponent had to invest a lot of resources to cast. Like any 5, 6, 7 might unit is going to be a lot more expensive. And then it's a lot more worth your while to invest your cleave or invest your Darius into killing it. But anything that has exactly 4, it is a very clean out to that unit to just be able to use a Void Seeker and say destroy it and then draw a card and then let your Kaisa walk in, right? So the kind of synergy between Void Seeker and Kaisa Survivor, I mean, it's one of the main synergies in the Kaisa deck proper is being able to have that sort of, being able to deal with that 4 might, or being able to deal with that 4 might threshold is really important.
Okay. And the draw's extra bonus. And the
And
ma
it draws you, for some reason, it draws you a card. So and it's an action, so if you leave 1 mana up, you go to 3 when you activate your anti-legend ability, letting you cast the Void Seeker on your opponent's turn. It is I really like one of the best, probably the best removal spell in the game. It just other than Falling Star, obviously. Just like killing a unit and drawing a card. I mean, what else can you ask for?
Cool. So you're prioritizing the 4 might, draw a card. The mana doesn't the mana doesn't or the energy cost, let's say, doesn't make too much of a difference with your legend because you can pretty much always afford it.
Yeah, like you're never playing like Hex Tech Beam in this slot because that like the things you hex the things Hex Tech Beam kills don't matter to you. Like you're already killing those with by just attacking over them with Kaisa Survivor. You really, really need Void Seeker to kill 4 might units. Because you don't have a convincing out to them otherwise. Other than Vayne, of course.
Gotcha. And the one slot synergy of Hex Tech Ray with something like Darius and stuff doesn't outweigh the upside of Void
Oh,
Seeker.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because, okay, let me even go even deeper into it. The problem with Vayne is that to beat a 4 might unit, she has to attack. And if you're attacking with Vayne and you conquer with Vayne, well, now you can't conquer that with Kaisa Survivor. And if you're not conquering with Kaisa Survivor, you're not drawing a card. So, like, any way you look at it, using the Vayne to out that unit is always worse than if just using the Void Seeker to do it.
Gotcha. So the closers down the bottom here. Well, let's say Kaiser's not particularly a closer.
Yes,
She's
we
like
can.
mid game. But
Yes, Kaisa is like a lot of times a turn 2 or a turn 3 play. Um, Kaisa kind of enables the entire deck. Like every card in the deck makes sense because Kaisa Survivor exists. Like this is the perfect Annie card. Being a 4 energy, powerless 4 might that draws a card when she conquers would already be extremely powerful. But the fact that they gave her the ability to accelerate is insane. Like actually insane. It is so 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 good. Being able to going first, turn 2, just play her to base, that's fine. But going second on you go turn 2, just accelerate the Kaisa in and then being able to draw a card, pass your turn, ready to, and then now not only do you have a Kaisa on the battlefield, you get to have that 2 mana to protect it. Protect it with fight or flight, protect it with flash, you know, like it's an extremely, extremely potent combo.
it's your engine
Uh,
almost, right? It's like it.
it is it is an insane value engine. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Vayne Vayne's an interesting card again that isn't played very much. Like you don't see it in the Kaiser list. You don't see it in like, oh, I mean, you see it in the Darius hook sometimes. Um, five might on offense, getting over things like Kaiser and what else? What else is Vayne your
She outs like against Master Yi, anything that's not the Stalwart Poro, she walks over. She beats like Nox's Hopeful. She beats a lot of like miscellaneous guys again in like other matchups. She's pretty good into like Ari to like walk over Ari's units. Um,
and
but the
is
fact that she enters ready is really, really powerful, is like the main thing. Like the main thing is that she's just an accelerate guy that attacks her five. Like that's really, really strong.
and is she is there any kind of what's the word for it? Like rules, generalized rules around whether or not you return her using a
Oh,
conquer
yeah,
ability?
you pretty much never return her. I'll be honest. Like I think I've returned her like maybe once ever. Um, it's generally speaking not correct to do so simply because like you don't want to have to use energy on your next turn to play her out again. Like you would much rather just return her to base with flash or return her to base with fight or flight, and then use her to like walk over something again next turn, and then you kind of save yourself from having to spend power and spend energy on your next turn to replay her. When instead you'd rather develop like a Darius or like a Kaisa on that turn instead.
Right.
So yeah, generally speaking, you don't return her. You just leave her out, and like if she dies, she dies. Like it's like she did her job. She scored you a point and she killed a unit.
Yep. So there no rules are hard and fast rules, so you still have to consider whether or not you return it, but general
Sometimes you can, but like generally speaking, I mean I wouldn't.
okay. Last but not least, the beast,
Darius.
Darius. Ten
I
might with
mean,
cleave. It's pretty good.
yeah, you
Get
play Darius Cleave, six mana, 10 might. I mean, Darius is good for a lot of reasons. Darius is good in a similar vein to Ride the Wind, just like putting your opponent in a position where they always have to play around Darius Cleave. Like anytime you're going to six, they have to play around Darius Cleave because that combo can just like win you the game on the spot. Like if they play into it, a lot of times it is really, really hard for them to come back. Um, Darius, a lot of games like come down to just like playing Darius and like kind of doing the Darius shuffle is what I like to call it. Like if you play Darius to base, on the next turn you can like go Darius up, Darius back down, and then you can kind of just move him around the battlefield.
yeah, you can like
And
Darius back with a fight or flight, and then play something ready and go to the other battlefield.
exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Darius being able to ready himself and give himself +2 is just an enormous amounts of value. And then when he's in base, he's like super protected. He's insulated from like 90% of cards.
It's just
There's
falling
really no
star, right?
replacement.
Like that's the
Yeah,
only thing you're
like if they
worried
use
about.
their Falling Star on your Darius though, that's fine because now they can't Falling Star your Kaisa or your other units. Um, no, Darius, there's no replacement for Darius. He's just a huge powerhouse. Um, he just does everything you need him to. Like truly, he's just a big guy who attacks.
Awesome. Well, the sideboard stuff I think we'll talk about in the sideboard section, and
Okay,
the reason why they're in there and what matchups they're good against.
sure.
The only other thing we can look at in here is two things I wanted to call out. One is the dead-on equal split between spells and units. Um, I'm coming from like a magic background, and this is pretty well optimal in most magic decks as well.
Be completely honest with you, that is a complete coincidence. It just happened to be that there was no more spells I wanted to play, and there was no more units I wanted to play. So,
Yeah, it's just like you
um,
need to balance the offensive point scoring capability of the
yeah,
units
I
with
thought
the
about it a
interaction,
little
right?
bit, but it kind of just worked out that way, to be honest. Like, I didn't take a ton of time to consider it. It was just that, like, I'm pretty much playing every good unit that you can be, and I'm playing every good spell that you can be. So I think that's mostly a side effect of the limited card pool. But I am glad it worked out that way because the deck feels like really, really consistent, really, really nice to play.
There's
There's not like
Is there anything you've been flex slotting, like trying out, um, like that's not in this list that you've kind of tried? Like, so the things that jump out to me, like
Uh,
there's the purple poro, which I mean, it seems like this one's just
no,
a lot better.
the in terms of like units, not really. I mean, when we go over like cards that I'm not playing, like the card exclusions, we can talk about it a bit more. But in terms of units, no. Like we're in this list, you have every playable unit in these two colors. At least in terms of playable units for Annie.
Yeah, the other two that I've thought about are Tide Turner in the 2-drop slot. I don't know if that's any good or not, but I'd be curious to get your take. And then we talked about one before, which was Phoenix, and why that doesn't fit into your game plan that you've got here.
Okay, so to start with Tide Turner, you don't play Tide Turner because he doesn't do anything. Like you already have enough effects that protect your units. Tide Turner is just those cards like Flash and Fight or Flight, but uh,
Way less
more
consistent.
restrictive. Yeah, it's way less consistent. It's more restrictive. It's too slow. You can't actually use your Annie mana to cast Tide Turner. So it's like almost always worse than just having Flash or Fight or Flight doing the same thing.
Yep,
And then if you're playing it on turn one, then it's just a vanilla. Like then it's just worse than Pouty. It's worse than Merchant. It's worse than every other two drop because it does nothing.
yep,
And then Phoenix is too expensive. Straight up, it just is too slow for one. It doesn't have accelerate, which if you'll notice, most of your units are going to be have accelerate or are going to enter ready or like sneaky place herself to the battlefield directly. Merchant is too Phoenix is too slow, and he costs too much. Like bringing him back costs you both a energy and a power, and Annie doesn't have like an excess amount of power to be spending. Like if you're casting a Falling Star or a Void Seeker, you're already spending a power to do that. You cannot be spending another power to play a conditional 5 might unit like Phoenix. So like I've played with that card a lot. There are versions of Annie that you can play Phoenix in, like control versions of the deck. Personally, I think those deck that like control version of Annie is quite bad. I don't think there's any reason to play that over this version of Annie, the aggro version. But technically, you can play Phoenix in the control version. But again, I don't know why you would do that.
gotcha. I thought we'd just raise it here just in case anyone's thinking about making the
Absolutely.
substitutions that you've got the
The
reps in with those
only
and
unit I would put in is the third copy of Pouty Boro. I mean, like that's like that's it.
yep. And then what you cut is a different
Yeah, we'd
story.
like cut like a merchant or like maybe a Vi. Technically, you don't need three Vi, but I think it's probably correct to play three. Um,
Cool.
I don't know. I would have to think about it, but generally, yeah, like generally, the only unit I'd put in is the third Pouty.
Alrighty, well, thanks for taking us through the deck list. Next video, we'll be looking at some of the matchups.